Okay, and we're back in the room. Welcome everyone to the final event insights of 2023. As you can see, it's a little bit different this week. I don't have a lovely background anymore. And for the first time, I'm actually sitting directly across from my presenter. So hello, Adam. He's on mute right now, so you won't be able to hear him. Today we have the lovely Adam Roberts joining us. So Adam is a senior safety advisor working here with Safe Events out in KSA. We're at the Soundstorm site. And today he's going to be talking all about safety on site. So I suppose without further ado, Adam, I will let you take it away.
Thank you very much, Chrissy. Yes, welcome to KSA. It's about nice 32 degrees at the moment outside. Not as bad as it was when we started, but it was 40 plus. It was very hot. And so I will make a start and share my screen and we'll rock and roll. Good to see Ray has joined us. Hello, Ray. My lovely one of my favourite people. And so, yeah, so 3 years ago during COVID, Mark started the event Insight podcast, and I was one of the people who foolishly went yes. And then when Mark started to do the next podcast, I foolishly went yes, I'll do it. And then he came up with a date, and I went, that's ages away, it'll be fine. And then I ended up on Soundstorm, and we're 2 weeks from a gig going to happen. So it's been quite stressful to get to this far, but I am quite looking forward to an hour of peace and quiet without my radio going squawking in the background. Today's is slightly different from what has been advertised, because 3 years ago when we did it, we literally did a very, very quick fly over a huge number of areas. And today, what we're going to dig into a little bit more specific, which we did discuss on the first one, is about management strategies for managing potential conflict, but mainly managing issues on site and people management. And so how we get into there. Okay, so we'll just start on the overview. So we've got a little disclaimer first. What I'm about to talk about is things that I have not done, and I've learned from my mistakes. From anybody who's watching who knows me, some people may well have seen me lose my temper, and nobody is perfect. So because I'm saying what I'm saying today, this is from practical experience, and I don't always get it right. Okay, so we're going to start off really with the first thing we need to think about before we ever get anywhere near site, which is what is your role and remit for when you turn up on site. I'm looking at this very clearly from a safety management point of view, but the same issues, if you're coming on site to do anything to do with events, can be transferred. Quite a few of these things would, you could be logistics, you could be rigging, you could be site infrastructure, and all these first little parts would apply, not just at safety. So first bit is, are you a strategic person? Are you an operational person? The strategic people will be the people who are doing the licensing, who are doing the big picture stuff, versus the operational people are the people who will be on the site, actually going around, boots on the ground, talking to people, actually checking the risk assessments, checking the work processes, etc. So you need to know what you're going to be asked to do. Then, as far as your remit, are you an advisor? Are you here to advise? Are you here to mentor, tutor? Or are you here to manage and police people on site? This is a really important differential. It is something that an awful lot of the time we find an issue with clients when they expect us to be the person who is going to manage people on site, and we have just been employed as in an advisory capacity. If we're looking at UK, are you literally turning up to do the build and then do the breakdown? CDM, construction design management for people outside of the UK, is a set of regulations which are in place, which we are a construction site, whether you believe that or not, that's just a fact of life. And so we're not actually then going to be looking at how remit doesn't move into show and may not even move into air site design for emergency exits, capacities, all these kind of things. So again, very clear what you're actually going to be there to do. It may be another set of people from the same company who are then going to step into those roles. At Soundstorm, we have a whole sector of people who are called patron safety advisors rather than occupational safety advisors, and their role specifically is to look after the audience and the audience safety part of the event. If it's a much smaller event, you will probably be wearing all these hats. But if you've got a bigger event, really make sure as to where your parameters are for what you're doing. That doesn't mean that you shouldn't have an eye and a thought as to, oh, I'm going to log that, I'm going to pass it on to somebody else. But don't get too involved in that and keep in your speciality. Are you going to do structural inspections, even if it's just a visual rather than a sign-off? Is that part of your role? And then you're going to feedback, so, well, then you haven't done everything. Marquees and tents are a classic example here. We here are not going to sign them off, but we do a visual inspection here to make sure that all the basic pieces are correct. If they aren't, then we feed that back to the people who are managing that contractor. The absolute classic, which probably most of us spend a lot of our time on. Are we going to be doing crew behaviour and compliance? Is it we are advising their management that they're not behaving, or do we have to be more hands-on? And is that part of what we've been hired to do? Another one, this is very much strategic, but it can be operational. When you're looking to get your license to go through this Safety Advisors Group process, which is a UK system, but to get your license to be able to put on an event, that would be strategic. However, when you get on the ground before the doors open, you will generally have local authorities and agencies who will come and want to inspect, whether that's the fire brigade, whether that's the local authority for building control or for environmental health, the caterers, and that may well come under your role as an operational safety person. Are you there to facilitate conversations? Are you be the people who bring two sets of people together, and you are literally just facilitating the conversation? As we know, a conversation can be had which will solve problems. You don't have to be the person to come up with a solution, but you could be the person best suited to be viewed as independent. And then are you literally going in and just taking a step back and actually auditing the performance of another safety team or an operational team on site? I have done this and I find it very, very difficult because I want to run in and get my hands dirty and step in and say, right, come on, guys, this isn't how we're supposed to be doing it. But ultimately, as the graphic says there, we are not here to tell people how to do their jobs. We are here to help advise. We are not here to tell. So if that said, don't advise me how to do my job, that might be more the kind of role that we are sitting in. But we're not there to tell people how to do their jobs. And sometimes we are literally a reassurer, somebody who knows, who's got a lot of knowledge, but maybe is taking a step up, and they just want somebody who is a sounding board to go, yes, you are doing it right. Yes, I agree with you, a confirmer. And then the last one that I think most of us will have come across if we are safety advisors is because basically somebody's told them they have to have you. Now, in this situation, it's a horrible place to be because they don't want to listen to you. They see you as a cost. They don't see you as having any value. And this is the health and safety police. Safety doesn't know. And in my advice to anybody is just sidestep these roles whenever you can, because it's not good for your general well-being, let's put it that way, when you're just trying to help and all you see is being a problem rather than a solution or facilitator. Okay, so spaces that we all work in, all of them have got commonality, but they all are all different. Greenfield site, which could be a field anywhere, it could be anything outdoors. Generally, these you are in charge of your complete destiny. You bring everything in. Whoever the promoter is, they will bring in power, water, barriers, electricity. Every single part of the site they will bring in. It's got a benefit because you know that it's all yours, okay? So you don't have to ask anybody for anything. You've got to get it done, and then you can program, and it's relying on your own project management of your own contractors. Open spaces under ownership. So, for example, the Olympic Park in Stratford in London is a great example of this. It is owned and managed by a third party. So we then would have to work underneath their basic controls and structures to be able to put on an event within that area. Some of the things they will provide themselves, some of the things we will have to provide. That needs to be a nuanced and great relationship for things to work properly. Public realm, things like any carnival, a Notting Hill Carnival is public realm. It's on the street, anybody can turn up. Generally with these, crowd management and crowd control, because there is no way you can control numbers, is the thing that you really need to focus on here, and really look at very, very carefully and have management strategies in place for when it gets too busy in various areas. Stadia. Most stadia were never built to put on events. They were built under a green guidance for sport. There are some exceptions. If we look at Tottenham Hotspur's new stadia, it has absolutely been designed to take on different revenue streams apart from football. But in the main, most stadia will be designed for football, rugby, baseball, could be anything under the sun. And so they are not designed for the way that we use them. We can still use them, but it does come with with us to think about how we're going to do it. We don't come under green guide. That's the guide for sports stadia. But we are using the stadia, and then we come under different guidance. So that's an area which there is a bit of conflict on, but equally, it's fairly well versed as to how we do this. And then we move into purpose-built venues. So arenas, exhibition halls, these were designed to facilitate what we want to do. Some of them are very old. The bottom left is one of my favorite buildings in the world. It's Olympia. It's Victorian. It's beautiful, but it was designed for events in Victorian times. So it comes with its own special issues, because obviously we are no longer in Victorian times. Then we go into next ones, which is ones which have a very, very, very clear set of legal management parameters, which we have to operate under. If it's near field, you're under whichever aviation authority you're within. Quarries and railways, these are very strictly controlled and defined places to work, and so we have to modify our way of working to fit in with these very prescriptive rules, because they're deemed high risk industries. So that comes with its own issues. Again, it can be overcome, but you have to be much more malleable within those areas. And then ones which are quite fun: listed buildings and heritage spaces. If anybody who's a UK based or even worldwide, we've got a thing called Stonehenge, which is a very ancient monolith, which when at the equinoxes, the sun rises perfectly through the steel stone structures. Now, it is a worldwide heritage site, but we want to facilitate people celebrating the equinox. Again, it can be done, but we have to be sympathetic as to how we're going to work within these areas. Okay, this one, many of you will have seen before, is basic principles of risk. On the right, it's very clear. We can change the probability. We cannot change the impact or what we would class as the severity. In general speak, we would have likelihood rather than probability, severity rather than impact. But this is a really good little, I love it, which gives the ideas of what we can do and what we can't do, and we want to be able to manage it so that people can do what we want to do. So if we look at it, principles, nothing is risk-free, nor should it be. If it was risk-free, there would be not a single large-scale amusement park, and Disney would be out of business. But we'll come on to that, because in actual fact, they're very safe. We're not the fun police. Right? We are here to facilitate change, facilitate great ideas. That's why we work in the industry that we work within. We could work in some other safety industry, but we are here to really facilitate the dynamic, the cutting edge. Nobody goes to Leicester Square to see the same old film premiere. They want to see something bigger, something better, and that's human nature. And that hopefully is why we all work in the industry we work in. So we identify hazards. We then assess those hazards and assess the risk. And without doing this, we don't actually know whether, as we look on right, whether it is a low probability or high impact or low impact. So this is what we do. And then when we identify something, we put a control measure in place to lower the risk or the impact, to therefore to make it safer in a practical, pragmatic manner. Okay. Moving on to this, we then have to obviously document this, whether it's in some form of a risk assessment. It doesn't have to be written down. It can be filmed. An awful lot of TV news gatherers now do a film, if they're in a war zone or somewhere of high risk, do a film which then goes, right, this is where we are, this is what we're doing, and this is how we're going to do it. It's documented, all right? And then they go and do the piece to camera or whatever they're doing. The really important bit within this is we then can share this information with other people who work, because we've all got knowledge, we've all got lots of experience, and the important thing that we're sitting here thinking about is we should be sharing this, because other people have got ideas, we've got ideas, and we've got different approaches. So let's find, if we share our knowledge and our benchmarking, which we'll come on to, then we can actually improve all of the process. This next one is incredibly important, okay? I've lost count of a number of times I have an intellectual risk assessment, which might be 6 or 7 pages long. Then the guys turn up on site, or the company turns up on site to do the work, and it is completely irrelevant to the tasks they are doing and how they're going to do it. Okay, consult with people who are doing the tasks, all right, and then understand how they normally do it. It may well be 100% safe, but then we can put in control measures which might well make their job quicker, easier, and therefore safer. Okay, check out which laws where you are. Okay, depending on where you are in the world, the laws are different. If you're in the States have got their own laws. So just because you have worked in San Francisco in California and then you go to do a job in Chicago does not mean that you're under the same regulatory framework. Follow industry approved guidance for best practice, and then you just need to be able to demonstrate that you have followed this. So you need to be able to know within the area that you're in that you need to demonstrate so far as is reasonably practical that you have fulfilled your duties. This again, obtain the information and stats, share your data and your knowledge with others. Okay, because we have all got so much knowledge. In what works for your show, which is something may not work for somebody else's. But the more information we can share, the better we can get all of us at finding solutions. And manage the perception of risk. Another classic is I've been doing this job for 20 years and I've never had an injury. Okay, and it's just like, well, hold on a minute. Let's just look at the perception of risk and then inform reasons why we're asking people to do things. A classic case that I have here is a swivelly office chair. We're coming up to Christmas in an office and somebody stands on that office chair to hang up Christmas decorations. Now, I've lost count of the number of broken collarbones and fracture risks that I've had to write reports for people standing on swivelly chairs. All right, it's a 5-minute job. And then so you say, the reason why we're not going to do this is because we've got all this data. And by the way, but not just that, here's this nice little set of steps that you can use instead. So you need to offer them something, not just no, which we'll come on to later, but you need to offer them a solution to what they're doing. And this is why we do the job we do. It's to facilitate innovation and ideas. Find new ways of doing things, which means that they can do them safely. And finally, what I would always ascribe to is doing zero harm to people, not zero risk. Okay, this is the big bit, and this is come back to Disney, right? And perception of risk. Disney rides are safe, but they make us feel like they're unsafe and they're risky, right? And so they manage to do zero harm, but with a perception of quite a bit of risk. So that we all go and scream or do whatever we do, and we get some joy out of it. Okay, so how do we do this? So we're going to look at this from a number of different levels. The first one is we have to work with the client strategically. They need to plan, and they need to plan with us as to exactly how and what they want to do. And then we can start looking at it. We need to then agree the parameters of what we're going to be doing on site, wherever the site may be, and how much we are empowered to do. And then so we can agree and they buy into this. Next is we absolutely need everybody within the client's company and also subcontractors to buy into this, so that we have a clear, concise, cohesive message coming from everybody that we can then inform the contractors all the way through the process, so that they don't get mixed messages from people. Again, from previous, you might benchmark. So here we're looking at, we agree that the areas that they want to prioritize. It might be plant, it might be, it might be working at height. Okay, and so that they're going to underwrite absolutely and probably put more resources into this area, or give us the ability to put more resources so that we can actually do this. It's all about conversation and communication. And this is it. It's like, how do we then resource this in a way which is actually going to make a difference, rather than just paying lip service to it? And this is, so everybody understands, and this is how we're going to move forward. Okay. Once we've done all that, we're going to clear and concise information to contractors. So when they're actually putting in a tender and putting in the bid, they understand how they have to work, or how we're asking them to work within a within a set of parameters. I'm not saying it, you must do it like this, but we are saying in a bigger process, that these are the things that we expect you to do, your expectation. And so therefore they then tender correctly, not turn around later and go, oh, you never told me this was the tender, and now we've got to change prices and the conversation, and then we have conflicts. Okay. And then again, this needs to be so that we actually give a good scope as to what they are being asked to do. If we, as a safety company, are then not getting an accurate scope of what they're doing, we cannot contextualize any risk assessment that we are getting sent through, because we don't have an understanding of what they're actually doing. So having that scope in place for everybody, again, gives more detail and makes people make decisions, so that then we can make an informed decision from that. Okay, and this is a really big one, is that the client needs to back up these processes and these agreements when pushback happens from people. And it is inevitable that there will be a small percentage on any event who will push back. They might say it's too onerous, too expensive, they don't understand why they have to do this. But this backup process needs to be from everybody, not just from the from the safety team, but all the way through sales teams, operational teams, everybody like this. Okay, and then we need to offer solutions for the identified hit list or high value shopping items that they were looking at. An example on Soundstorm is that we want to make sure that the plant coming into the site is acceptable and is safe and has got a relevant and up-to-date inspection certificate. We have an inspection team on site, so if something doesn't come up with the right paperwork, we can say, there's these guys on site, they're very reasonable costs, and nobody's making a profit out of this, and so that they then can get their plant on site and certificated as quickly as possible. So we're not just saying, sorry, you can't come in with that. Okay, so strategies moving forward from this. Okay, this is in the pre-show planning. Right. Okay. Be aware of what they've written in the risk assessment. I think I've jumped to slides, Chrissy. Sorry. No, I haven't. No, I do apologise, everybody. Okay. So be aware of what they've written in their risk assessment if you're moving forward from this situation. Okay. Okay. Do not. I definitely have. Excuse me one moment, ladies and gentlemen.
Coming up differently, is it?
It is coming up differently. Just bear with me.
Take your time.
No, I'm sorry. No, that's me, not you. For some reason, having a moment. Yeah. Okay. So be aware of what's been written in their risk assessment when we go to site or whatever. Don't make assumptions. Okay. When you see something on site, and make sure that you check your reporting systems, a recurring issue. This has gone out of sequence, guys. I do apologise, but I'll just carry on. Okay. If there's an issue which you are not competent on site regarding, ask for somebody on in your team who has got more competence in that area to join you. Equally, if you're somewhere in the world by yourself, and this has happened to me, you should have somebody in your phone who can give you some information after the conversation with somebody in India as to about how he can offer a solution for what he sees. He says, I know that it's not right, but Adam, why is it not right? I was quite happy to do that for him. Okay. When you're going into areas, know who the influencer is in that area. It might not be the person who is in charge. It might not be the manager. It might be the foreman. It might be somebody else, and get them on board with you. If there is an issue on site, don't run up to it. walk up and introduce yourself. Okay, be aware that the body language that you are presenting, wherever you are in the world, this is a massive thing, which is subconscious to them, subconscious to you. If you walk up in what could be pursued, assertively, but could be perceived by somebody as aggressive, then you've laid a set of ground rules which makes it think that it's going to be a conflict situation. Don't shout. Doesn't do any good. If you're in a foreign country, don't shout and speak slower, because they still won't understand you, everybody. Okay? Ask who is in charge and start the discussion. And sometimes take that discussion away from the position where you're in to try to manage the situation. Might be a cup of coffee, might be a cup of tea, etc. And ask questions which are open for this, okay? So instead of going, is this the best you can do? The answer will be yes. Said, okay, can you talk me through how you do this process? An open question. It's really critical, because then they'll start to talk. A lot of time we find with quite a lot of people, they've got a lot of stuff in their head. It's just how you are able to winkle it out of their head. And so they put it in the correct context for you. And don't get frustrated, because an awful lot of time people are looking like he got frustrated, therefore he lost his temper, therefore, that's the situation. Some people absolutely want to push your buttons because they think that is the way that they can get around doing things. Okay. And so now I think we've just slides have jumped over. Okay. So strategy we're looking to educate people. Okay. So the reasons why we're asking to do something, show examples. A great one for anybody who wants to put up some gazebos badly is get a video on YouTube of a marquee blowing away and going, this is the reason why we want it to be weighted correctly and everything else. Picture good practice, especially if you are outside of Western Europe or the US. If you've got a picture on your phone of an aluminium scaffold built correctly, or how to put on a harness correctly, right? Pictures speak 1,000 words, and especially when there is a language barrier. Okay, as I said there, it works great when you've got issues with language. Google Translate is still very good, but it does have its limits, but it can be a way to break down barriers when a bit of humor works very well. Okay. We have to be aware that in most of the places that we are working and the environments, that people are on a hard deadline. So for you to sit up and say, right, no, sorry, we're not doing it like this, or we can't do it like this, but you've got 4 hours to find a solution and then do all your work in, that's not practicable. So we have to understand, and we have to take into account that contractors are very, very, very often under a huge amount of pressure. So, and before you've come up and said, I'm really sorry, but we're going to have to change how you work, they're already behind, because that is the nature of the beast that we work in, and especially in the current climate when people are being asked to do more with less. Okay, before you go in, offer things. Think about things that you can offer to help. Right, be the facilitator to can we get more hours? Can you stay back so we can cover? Or is there somebody else that you can sit there and go, hold on a minute? There might be a contractor who can help you, who's on site and is further ahead than you, and just be that point of contact which can then facilitate it. Okay. Sometimes it's equally being the person who is the educator. Although we say that we are advisors and we're there to advise, sometimes the message being given by an independent third party will make a huge difference, because it's not getting through otherwise. It really can be just a different face, but the same message can make the change for people. Okay, and use humor where appropriate. And this is something which Google Translate can, because everybody laughs about how bad it is. But use humor where appropriate, and it will break down barriers. And then after you've hopefully found a solution which works for everybody, write it down and email it. Okay, so that you've done the informal, now you do the professional formal part of the process. So they still respect you and they understand that this is not just a little chat. This is about, we've agreed something. I have missed out some of my slides, so I will actually go back, Chrissy. Right, sorry about this, guys, but for some reason, some of my slides have gone walkies. So the ones that have disappeared, it's about, so before you go into anywhere, okay, take a deep breath, look, think about what you're going to say, okay? Don't, as I said, don't run in, just sit there and think, right, how can I work this through with the people who are there? Don't stop work if something is high risk. Let them complete the task that they are doing. This is really, really important, because if you actually sit there and they're on a live edge, and you go, excuse me, and try to get their attention, you may actually cause the accident that you're trying to prevent, because they jump and then they step backwards and then they're off the edge. And you want to be sitting there going, right, what do I want to be the outcome of this? And think about always before you even step in, what am I willing to accept? Is this going to be legal? And then ultimately from that you go, what is non-negotiable? And then we can sit there and go, what is the win-win? What can I offer these people before I go and speak to them, which will then be a win for them and a win for me? And these are the really, really, really important things to think about. Sometimes just taking a deep breath, doing some visualization, if that works for you, before you walk in, and then you start that conversation with them. All right? Shouting at them or steaming in is not going to do anybody any good. And I know I've said it before, build relationships with people. And this is one of the other slides which has disappeared. When you are actually going through a risk assessment process at the beginning of it, be timely. If somebody submits documents through your portal, make the portal intuitive and really helpful. Okay, so it sees that it adds value. People are not keen on doing safety information. Okay, I hate writing my risk, hate doing my tax return, and the Inland Revenue's tax portal makes it 10 times worse because it's so useless. Okay, so we need to make it intuitive and as helpful as possible. Then when they do submit, timely manner to start the conversation with them. And when you start having a conversation, whether it be by email or whether it be by whichever medium you work, be quick in returning any responses from their questions. Equally, remember that email ping pong is just awful, and sometimes a phone call, a WhatsApp or a Zoom meeting for 20 minutes will solve hours of endless emails back and forward. So be personable, be a real person rather than somebody faceless at the end of an email chain, okay? And then once they get to site, make sure that that you meet them. Make sure that you're personable. Take them for a cup of tea. There is no mistake on the site here, which is huge. There is only one cabin on the site here which has got its door permanently open from 7 o'clock in the morning till 7 o'clock at night, and that's the safety cabin, because ultimately that means that we are open and approachable subconsciously to people, but they don't have to open the door and stick their head round and see whether it's okay to interrupt somebody. We have our door open at all times, and it sounds a bit naff, but an open door policy is incredibly important. Offer them tea, offer them coffee, offer them solutions. Sometimes they may not be the solutions that they want to hear, but it is where we have to be. And a really important thing, which I'm going to say as well here, is that it is not our job to be liked. It's our job to be respected. It is also our job to respect the people who we are trying to help. All right? And these are really, really, really important. People, you want to be friends with people. You want to make that connection, but you also need to be professional, and you also need to make sure that they understand and respect you, and you understand and respect them. It is a two-way street. We are not dictating to anybody here, but we need to make sure that we have a good working relationship. There are times to have a joke and a laugh and shoot the breeze, and there are times to be serious, and you need to be able to draw a difference between them. A lot of things can be solved by humour, but as I said before, follow it up with the professional email. Be formal. You can do things informally, but then be formal, which comes into it. Because I've lost some of these, which are a real pain. Now going to the final slide. However hard and tough your day is, and Jack Sarwood was the person who really brought this whole dream around, was having a really horrible event. Okay, we're all here to do that. Absolutely. Okay, it's not going to be risk-free. We can't make it perfect. You know, when you bang your head against a contractor that isn't engaging, just remember the bigger things. Okay. This next one, really critical. A safe system of work, which is available, is the best way. Maybe that's the best that we can do. Stepping away from theory and intellectualizing something, you can only work with what you've got. Okay, and sometimes that's the best way that we can work to prevent harm. It's not perfect, but it's the best way that we can do, and it's the best solution at the time. Another one to remember is don't get sucked into managing contractors and their teams. That is not our job as safety advisors. Okay, that is their job to manage their teams and contractors. They will very happily, if you step in, they will very happily normally give you that, that space for you to step in and take, and that, so they don't have to be irresponsible for that. So always try and maintain that one-step distance. Okay, sometimes you have to. It is just the way of the world because they aren't managing, but they will very happily let you take on some of their responsibilities so they can go off and do other things. All right. But please never forget why you came into this industry. We are literally here for the dynamic nature of what we do. The problem solving that we do. These are things which push our real primeval buttons as event people, and the buzz. For me, when I see a crowd like that doing that, it makes it all worthwhile. But when you're in the middle of a long build or a stressful build and things aren't going your way, you can very regularly forget why we are here and what we are doing this for. And it is for happy, smiley faces, whether it's 5,000, 500, 50,000, even more. That's what we do. And remember to take that step back and enjoy enjoy that moment when it happens. The happy faces. And that's the end.
Thank you very much. Did you see this up here? You might be able to click this and we'll see your face again.
I've got too many windows open, Chrissy, and it's been a hell of a day. It's been a hell of a day. There we go.
Well done. Okay. Oh, there we go. We've got you back again.
Hey.
Adam, thank you so much. That was fantastic.
You don't want to tell people how to do their job, even if you think you know how to do their job. I'm an ex-Olympian rigger. I have to make very sure very often I don't step on their toes. And also don't go out and go, I used to be an Olympian rigger, so I know exactly what I'm talking about. You've got to sit there and go, I know you're like, absolutely talk in their language, but don't tell them how to do their job. They know how to do their job. We might well just want to sit there and go, okay, we understand how you want to do your job, but let's try and improve on it.
It seems I was muted when I was saying that, so just to kind of let everyone know what Adam was responding to there, I was just calling out Ray's comment there when we were talking about the strategies and how to actually approach people, and I thought it was really interesting. Let's go back up again. He said, if we project a collaborative approach, you find you get a collaborative response. So yeah, absolutely fantastic. If anyone does have any questions, we'll give you just another moment to pop them into the chat here. Otherwise, Adam has about 1 million things left to do on site here before we finish up for the day. So we might just let him get back to that unless someone has something here. No, maybe not. I think you've covered everything very well. As always, the recording for this will be available this Friday on our YouTube. If in the meantime, as always, you do think of any questions, I'm sure Adam will find the time to get back to you. If you want to even send them my way, I can ask Adam, and we can pop it into maybe the description on the YouTube page. But in the meantime, thanks everyone so much. It's been a fantastic year for Event Insights. As I said, this is the last episode of the year. We will be returning though next year. So if you yourself maybe think you want to present something, pop me a message. And in the meantime, we'll speak to everyone in the new year. Thanks, everyone.